Howdy, Earthlings. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, I've been seeing a lot of clips from him. I don't have much to say on the matter other than Charlie seemed like a smart guy who was capable of understanding all the stuff that he pretended to be ignorant about, but chose not to in order to continue pursuing his career as a career bigot. He was never going to stop being a shithead as long as he was getting paid to do so. That said, it's impossible to know what's going on in a person's mind at all times. I don't think he should have been killed for his beliefs, but I also believe he is a victim of his own ideology that he himself pushed. He was a bad dude that didn't deserve death. Those two things can be true at the same time. That bullet completely removed any chance of change that he could have experienced. That day, he was a bigot. In the future, we'll never know now. I don't support the murder of my political opponents, not even ones as shitty as Kirk. Personally, that my opponents wish death on me for my existence says way more about them, but that's my final say on the subject. I do think he was a curious person, and maybe he'd learn something if he decided to talk to people his own age instead of the college students for clips. One big example of this was the clip where he asks a queer person this question.
When I grew up, calling someone queer was like a slur. Can you tell me what that means? I mean that sincerely. And how is it different than just saying you're lesbian or bisexual or gay?
So it can be different for everyone because gender, sexuality, it's a spectrum just like anything else. And for me personally, I like everyone.
No, but what does queer mean though?
Queer, it's just a label.
What does the label mean?
It's different for everyone.
Okay. Right.
So I'm gay, right?
Okay, no, that's good. So,
Yeah.
so what's the difference then gay and queer?
The whole point of it is that it has a different definition for everyone.
No, I know, but what is the difference then of gay and queer?
Throughout the video, the young queer person struggles to explain what queer means. This is what I mean by he'd learn more if he asked people his own age. I 100% believe he's being genuine here, or at least really good at pretending to be, and then maybe he had a follow-up question, but it's actually really easy to answer if he asked someone his own age. Like, I don't know, me, 34 years old, and he was 31, so that's what this video is. First, what is queer? How is it different from saying you're lesbian, bisexual, or gay? It's not. Queer is an umbrella term. That means it encompasses and sums up multiple things under its one descriptor, like how bread describes all kinds of bread, but there are many different kinds of bread beneath that. You know, all French bread is bread, but not all bread is French bread. Queer is a word that is short for LGBTQIA+, basically, while also having its own meaning. Words can do that. They can have multiple meanings. Queer, when used in the plural sense, means anyone who is gay, lesbian, bi, transgender, queer, the other meaning of it, intersex, and asexual/aromantic people. The A does not stand for ally. Basically, queer is a catch-all term referring to anyone who isn't cisgender, not transgender basically, and straight. So when I say queer people, I mean the LGBTQIA and more. It's faster. As you probably noticed, the acronym has gotten longer over the years. It used to be LGBT, then it was LGBTQ, then now it's LGBTQIA, and it's been about that for like 10 years, but straight and cis people they don't learn this stuff as much because they're not seeing it every day like queer people are. But queer is a generalized term to include them that is supposed to be simpler than saying the gay alphabet. Used to be that you could just say gay and it meant everyone, but that left people out, and some people don't identify with that. Queer is an updated version of that. Queer in the singular can mean this definition, but it can also refer to a person who is sure that they aren't straight or cis and doesn't have an exact term for their identity yet. They're what we used to call questioning or in the closet. Queer can also mean genderqueer, what you might call non-binary. This is a person whose gender doesn't align with the male or female binary, like me. I could be described as genderqueer, but personally I just prefer non-binary. More people know what it is. The same way I don't refer to myself as pansexual, I refer to myself as bi because more people actually know what bi is, and I get tired of explaining things. Is queer a slur? No, it never was actually. Like I said, I'm 4 years older than Kirk was, so I don't get maybe where he's from it was deemed a slur or something like that, but I've grown up longer than him, and I never thought of queer meaning a slur, and I never heard of anyone thinking the word queer was a slur. It has been used as a derogatory term in the past, and perhaps people who are victims of the term in the past may have an issue with the word, but I've never once viewed the word as a slur. It's no more a slur than gay is. Remember when people were using gay in a derogatory manner? Like instead of man, this sucks, they'd say, that's gay. Remember the Wanda Sykes commercial? I do.
Yo, check out this chef, right? Right? That's so gay. That's really gay. Dude, look at those pants.
Please don't say that. Don't say that something is gay when you mean that something is dumb or stupid. It's insulting. It's like if I thought this pepper shaker was stupid and I said, man, this pepper shaker is so 16-year-old boy with a cheesy mustache. Just saying.
Either way, any word can be used in a derogatory fashion, but a slur is on a different level. When I think of a slur, I think of a derogatory word that is used to exert societal control over another person by being part of a socially, economically, or politically deemed higher class. A word that dehumanizes and reminds the individual that they are among the marginalized class. As often as I've heard it from straight and cis people who say like, oh, it seems like everybody's trans and gay and stuff now. And no, there's been recent surveys and stuff like that still say that less than 1% of Americans are trans. But basically, a slur is a word to assist in oppression, to exert dominance over another person verbally. While being called a queer in a derogatory manner might hurt someone's feelings, it's not a slur. I can't remember where I saw the quote, but it was something like, "Why would I take offense to a word as beautiful as odd or different? I was raised that being normal is being boring, that fitting in is okay, but to be yourself is more important. Calling me queer is just a sign that I'm being myself. You're telling me that I'm doing it right. This is why words like cringe don't hurt me. I'm being called different, which is pretty far from offensive. In a world where nothing is unique or, different, it's pretty great, honestly, to be called queer and, feel different. Why isn't it derogatory anymore? Conservatives really like to use words and definitions like they're the final say on the subject, like word is law, as if it's not made up by someone. Probably comes from their history of cherry-picking Bible verses. A lot of you are very traditional, for lack of a better word, so you like to take words too literally, or you operate on outdated definitions or choose to refuse to keep up with the advancing and changing world. You like to be different too. You see a stream and you try to swim up it because you don't like change. Words change, often. Queer as a derogatory word is the past. Decades ago, actually, we've moved on. I know a lot of you out there want a free pass to saying offensive words, so just take this new word. It's free. Don't worry, there are people in the LGBTQIA who don't want us using the word and refuse to use it themselves. That's their right. But honestly, I don't want to sing the ABCs every time I talk about a person who I know is queer, but I don't know which specific flavor of gay they are. Queer is just efficient. Hopefully that clears it up. Now, maybe if Charlie talked to people older than their 20s, their early 20s, he might get a clear answer on these sort of things. And also, if it wasn't this whole pop-up shock, asking it on the spot, he might get better answers. It's annoying that every queer person has to be a historian on all of queerdom just to be allowed to exist. Straight people are not held up to that same standard at all. You are not expected to know everything about being straight or straightness in general, or your sexuality or anything like that. Y'all just get to exist. Us, we say we're queer, we have to know absolutely everything that we can about the subject. We have to serve as your lexicon. We have to be your teacher and teach you and all that stuff. It's totally unfair because we don't expect the same of you. I don't ask straight people why the hell they wear a t-shirt where one says I got a baby and the other one says I've nutted in her. I don't ask why y'all do that. So don't ask me about every facet of queer life, okay? I'll share what I want to, when it's relevant. I'm not here to answer all your questions. But it just creates an unrealistic standard, and a lot of you hate that so many of us sound like nerds. But when you force everyone to be a historian on the subject, then you're going to hear more of us sounding like nerds. Charlie honestly could have answered this with just a quick Google search, and instead he chose to put a young queer person on the spot for internet points. They likely haven't been out of the closet for more than a year, which this is also their fault for choosing to engage in discussion with Kirk on such a public forum. A big reason Charlie never talks to non-students is because most of us know better than to engage with this sort of thing that Kirk did. But being the college type, they think that they know a lot more than they do, so it's easy to humble them. Just because you got a degree or you're working on a degree does not make you smarter than everyone else. It just means that you've gotten more privilege than everyone else. You got lucky. You were born into the genetic lottery that allowed you to be in a position that allowed you to go into higher learning. That doesn't make you smarter than everyone else. That just makes you luckier. And maybe you worked hard for that. You still had the privilege of being able to work harder at that. A lot of us don't get the choice. Anyway, Charlie came to these things prepared. He has a lot of this stuff laid out and rehearsed beforehand. Those college students are fresh off of a bowl to ease their anxiety and have only discussed this stuff with people just as unprepared as them. Charlie doesn't want to engage in conversation because he never engaged with people his age, who didn't agree with him. Even if I was asked, I still wouldn't agree to discussing this sort of stuff with someone like him. I don't believe debates have value because no one goes in to learn or expand their worldview. They go in to get dunks on each other and internet points. What we need is people just talking to each other without cameras or scripts, but that doesn't make money. So I guess I'm partly to blame, but I know how these things go down. It wouldn't be about learning. It'd be about identifying a small gap in my knowledge and then expanding on that to try and make me look stupid to farm internet points for, monetization and stuff like that. It would all be about finding that one spot and turning it into a clip. Most of Kirk's audience isn't young people. It's other 30-plus-year-olds who are aging into a world that they don't understand anymore. Rather than learning and keeping up with everyone, they want the world to be easy, a world where they don't need to change. Thanks for watching. This isn't what I usually do, but I saw this clip and it's such an easy thing to answer that it's kind of shocking that they didn't know this. I figured it would have came in the pamphlet that comes with the queer fruit basket that we all get when we join. So I wanted this out there and easy to find, but considering I'm a furry and a VTuber, no one who actually needs this is going to watch it. So I hope you found it useful and fun to have a refresher on the thing you also already know. And maybe you can explain this to other people you meet. Just keep in mind, don't talk to people when cameras are on. They just want the clip. If you liked this, consider liking, subscribing, and becoming a supporter. I have a Patreon, and you can join the members. They both get their names read aloud at the end of the video, regardless of the tier. Let's try something a little different with this one. The Patreon list is starting to get a little longer, so let's try to do this all in one breath. Kaito, Phoenix, Esper, Artist, Paper, Faye, Penguin, Momentary, Unicorn, Aurora, the Puppy Moth, Sly, Nat, Marius, Eenie, Wormsora, Brask, Beef, Sly again, Colorado Blue, Vaderson, Linky again, Willie P, Spikejack, TG Dante, who also made this background, and Malting Brick. It's not that long of a list, it could be longer. Before I go, remember to disconnect from the internet every now and then. People now are more depressed than ever, and I think it's because we're a lot more empathetic now. So when the world is hurting and you're dealing with hate, remember to set aside time for yourself. Disconnect from the internet. Be offline. Play some video games. Or have a board game night with people. It's not a distraction. It's coming up for air. I'll see you later. Bye.